as we wrap up 2023, I thought it'd be fun to get a couple guys in here to talk about what that looked like on our end, and maybe from your eyes, what that looked like from your end as we see it through you. Atlas All Access starts now. All right, Joel Kozisek, Dan Dickmeyer, welcome. You guys have both been here before.
Yeah.
I just let's talk about what this year looked like. Give me the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I think there was a lot of all three of those in this year.
Yeah. This year was a roller coaster. There was a lot of each category there. For me personally, I think the good was kind of seeing the resilience throughout the year, right? I mean, it was crazy with bill rates changing left and right within even within facilities and units. Census would spike and crash and all that fun stuff. And whether it's the recruiter or the travelers, they kept their heads in the game and were able to just kind of get through it and look at the bigger picture of what was really going on with the industry there.
Yeah, the good for me was just establishing the allied team here at Atlas. Our first class came in January, and we added another group in March, and then had a couple join in June. And, just seeing them develop and seeing them learn the Atlas way and really get comfortable in the role has been really rewarding. And I think as we head into 2024, it gives me a lot of hope and optimism.
Bad.
Ooh, the bad. Just the turbulence of the year, right? I mean, it was one of those things where you felt like things were going really well, and then the floor would kind of fall out. And part of that resilience on the good side too, right? Like the recruiters having to deal with travelers that are now in a horrible situation, right? They were at a position where they thought, hey, this is where I'm going to be for 13 weeks, and suddenly 3 weeks in, there's no census to keep them. So just kind of that having to work through, the mental part of like, how did we get here, right? So kudos to the recruiters and the travelers for really kind of sticking to it and getting through that ugly mess.
Yeah, we didn't even get to ugly yet, but bad, I would probably mirror that is just, there's so much uncertainty, and with a volatile market, expectations were at an all-time high heading into the year, and then having to calibrate that for the first 6 months of the year was just, it's really hard. You're trying to play middleman and trying to make everybody happy, and you're balancing the client pressure with the candidate pressures, and having recruiters kind of be in the middle of that is hard, because it just kind of wears on you. You're having the same conversation over and over, and they're kind of the bad guy in that situation sometimes. So that's a tough spot to be in, but ultimately I think it's made us better, and we've kind of, things have normalized to an extent, and I think everybody's better at their jobs because of it.
Yeah. All right. Ugly.
Aside from me putting on 10 pounds this year from the bad, no, the ugly I think is that kind of like you were saying with the recalibration, trying to get our minds right for what 2023 was versus what 2022 was, right? That was something that I think everybody had a different picture from how it had been through COVID, and just trying to understand, like, that's not it anymore, right? Like we can't live in this COVID type world where, rates were astronomical and everybody needed somebody in their facilities, right? So I think just everybody trying to get their mind right about that, internally, externally. I mean, that was everywhere, at the facility level, at the agency level, travelers, everybody. So that was really hard to do, and I think people are coming around, but it wasn't a fun conversation.
Ugly, I would just say the market in general has changed significantly, and you have travelers that want to continue to travel. They did it. They did it and made loads of money and were financially stable for 2-3 years during COVID. And then the adjustment to not only having the ability to pay less, not earn as much, but then having less options. I think navigating that again is really hard. And so you kind of saw this revamp of the market, not only from the demand perspective, but the candidates. You had people that were, this isn't worth it for me anymore. Right. And then you had a whole new crop of travelers that have kind of come into the mix to say, I want to travel just because of kind of why people traveled pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. Because I want to, broaden my horizons. I want to get that experience. I want to travel and see new things. And so you kind of see this reemergence of that traveler come back into it, which has been good, but for a while it certainly was ugly.
It was ugly. Yeah, that's true. Let's shift gears a little bit. So you had mentioned it, right? Allied started for us this year, right?
Yep.
When did you came on with us about this time last year?
November 1st.
And then our first hiring class was January.
Yep.
How does, and this will be an interesting perspective from both of you, how does a traditional travel nurse company kind of reconcile that Allied has to be a part of this, right? Because before we said it often, we knew what we were good at, right? We were good at travel nursing. That's where we came from. That's what we grew up in. We cut our teeth in that, and we watched other companies that we were a part of try to start Allied and fail. We watched other companies around us in the industry start it and fail. It's a difficult beast. So how do we, as a traditional travel nurse company, reconcile that this is a part of what we do now? That it just is.
For me, it was bringing in people that specialize, right? So Dan Dickmeyer,
yes.
Right? I'm still learning more about Allied every day.
Yeah.
It's just never been a space that I dug into, that I was comfortable in. I was an RN recruiter, right? And then when I was a CM, I worked mostly RNs. So getting people in that know what we're supposed to be doing and then leading us into the proper way, I think has been absolutely phenomenal. Dan's done a great job about that. So.
Yeah, I think the fact that we're a traditionally strong nursing company lays the foundation for us to build off that, right? So that the implementation of understanding the specialties and getting recruiters who can funnel their focus to just recruiting those specialties and finding great people to travel with us, that all is made easier by the fact that we have a great foundation of how to do things on the nursing side. So I think that made the transition even better, and we really can leverage the reputation that Atlas has in the market to be able to say, hey, we're the same type of recruiter. We're going to treat you the same way, and we're going to make this an experience for you, and just mirror that on the Allied side with people who are just focused on that. So it's I don't really deserve the credit. It's our recruiters and our awesome people that we have within these walls that have kind of made it a success to this point. So
all right, so crystal ball me here. Give me your, what does 2024 look like? What are we looking at for next year?
Was that a crystal ball or was that a magic 8
ball?
Well,
Magic 8 ball.
Magic 8
ball, am I smart? It's a bowling ball, yes. I understand.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
2024, gosh, I mean, deep down, I really do feel like 23 was kind of the bottom, right? Like it feels like this was the absolute bottom. And I don't think that 2024 is going to, shoot out like a cannonball, right?
No.
I think there is going to be a slow climb back to, normalcy from what we've seen historically. So I wish I could say January 1, everything's going to be cheery, but I think we will get back there probably, mid-year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always Mr. Glass half full. So I think 2024, at least for Allied, is going to be a really good year for us. We have the people in the seats that we needed, and we're dedicating more resources to that side. So I'm really bullish on Allied and where the market's headed. Even though SIA predicts a little bit of a drawback in terms of total percentage, there's still a huge opportunity for us to build up our working count and find more awesome people to travel with us. So I think we're going to.
I think I agree with both of you. That was, and it kind of flows over into my opinion as well. 2023 was just a big shit sandwich, and for all of us, right? For everybody in the industry. And I think I don't want to sound like the old guy in the room that lived through 08, 09, but this feels like 20 we're going into 2010. It feels like we're coming out of what that was to the industry, and there's a lot of optimism. There's a lot of caution, right? But there's a lot of optimism too. So I want to embrace that Dan's glass half full philosophy and kind of roll with it from there. So Joel, Dan, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you did for Atlas and for our travelers this year. I really appreciate it from each of your seats, and we look forward to talking to you more in 2024.